Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Branding with Bex. I am so excited to dive into marketing in 600 seconds with you. This is all about big marketing insights and a small time commitment. Throughout the next 2 weeks, we're going to dive into the power of in-person marketing and field marketing, and then we're also going to pivot and look at the digital marketing space. So if you're really interested in learning about marketing as a whole, and maybe just looking to apply some of these tactics to your business, these next 2 episodes in this little mini series is going to be so influential for you as you plan your strategy for 2026 and beyond. As we wrap up 2025, now is a great time to audit what works and what doesn't work, and to take into consideration all the opportunities that marketing presents for your business. So without further ado, let's just dive into episode 1. This is all about the field of dreams, the power of in-person marketing, and why old school tactics still win. So before hashtags and ad pixels, marketing happened face to face, and this still matters more than ever. Let's talk about, shaking hands, sampling products, and how to make real world engagement scale. I think one thing that we're seeing is that people are really looking for that in-person connection now. We have such a strong presence online and everybody's, engaging online, but I think people are looking for that old-fashioned hello and to show up and to have those conversations with people. So before hashtags and algorithms, brands really built awareness in this way. They showed up. So one example I can think off the top of my head is Red Bull. Now, Red Bull actually didn't just sell a drink, but they really sold this energy movement. Red Bull sent teams to college campuses. I will say I actually was a part of the Red Bull Wings team when I was in college. They also had a whole movement around skate parks, extreme sporting events. They handed out free cans, hosted wild competitions, and literally jumped from space. And that's really what field marketing is all about. It's about making that brand impact and showing up in that old-fashioned way. It's marketing that lives outside of the screen. It's where people have those real in-person connections, and it's not just about collecting clicks. I think this is a really important strategy to think about moving forward because while this is field marketing, a lot of this can translate to online marketing. Think about if you're at one of those events and then everybody takes out their phone and starts recording it. That's free online marketing for you as well. So really take that into consideration when you're developing your field marketing strategy, how it is about that face-to-face connection, but there are so many ripple effects that can come from this. So it's all about creating that experience and that trust. But what does it include? So if you're looking to build out a field marketing strategy, think about hosting things like brand ambassadors at events, product samplings at grocery stores, pop-up activations and sponsorships, trade shows and conferences. These are some avenues of field marketing that you can explore depending on if you have a service-based business or a product-based business. There's a lot of different avenues that could work for you. But overall, the goal is really to turn a physical moment into a memory for your brand and for your consumer. This would stick long after the event. This creates that long-term effect and partnership with them. And now the big question. So where digital marketing really captures attention for seconds, field marketing actually can capture that emotion, and emotions can drive loyalty. So how do you measure the ROI on loyalty? If you can't track clicks, how do you go about measuring it? Well, we're gonna break that down for you right now. So lead capture. You can do this in a variety of ways. You can look at using QR codes, you can look at signups, you can look at post-event follow-ups. There's also the sales component, so the sales lift. So compare your local sales before and after an event. So say you were selling a product and then you went to an event with your product. How many products moved during that event? Did you have a booth? Did you sell products? Was there conversations around your products that later turned into purchasing decisions? There's so many ways you can go about this. And then also think about brand recall surveys. So ask customers how they first heard about you. They may have just heard about you just by walking through this conference and they came across your table. They may have just heard about you because they saw a sign for an event and your logo was plastered on there as one of the sponsors. There's so many little things that can help with recalling your brand and creating that sense of trust with your audience. And now there's also the social amplification. Do people post, tag, or talk about the event online post-event? Just because it's offline doesn't mean it's not measurable. It still can be tracked, but it means you have to be really intentional about connecting your field activity to your digital systems to be able to track that ROI. I think field marketing is something, it's actually how I started my career in marketing, was in field marketing, and there's so many opportunities with it. There's so many different avenues you can go, and there's a lot of creativity that goes into field marketing, whether it's event planning or managing a team of brand ambassadors. It really helps to represent your team in person. I think people forget that there's a whole real world outside of the digital world. And that real world out there is where people are actually actively engaging, actively connecting with brands and people. And we don't want to forget about that, especially as we're spending so much time on social media. So a few practices, if you're thinking about, hey, maybe I'm going to dive into field marketing myself. First, you want to know your audience. So I wouldn't say show up everywhere. I would think about being really strategic about where your audience is already hanging out and how you can then join that conversation. Think about the type of events that they're going to, the type of, if they enjoy music festivals, for example, or if they're, whatever your target demographic is, but think about where they're already showing up and how you can just insert yourself into that situation. Now you want to talk about training your team. So your ambassadors are your brand. When you're building out a team of brand ambassadors, you want to make sure that they are well equipped with knowledge about your brand. This is really invaluable information that helps carry that conversation long after. So when those members of your team are out there in the field, you want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward and representing your brand in the way that you would like them to. This doesn't necessarily mean super cookie cutter and professional. This could mean really funny and witty. Maybe you have like a cool girl brand that's a little bit more down to earth, or you have a brand that's, maybe very whimsical and wants to, give off more of like that earthy poetic tone. Like really think about your brand tone and how that can translate into your brand ambassadors. A lot of times brand ambassadors work in a variety of ways. So you can have ambassadors directly for your company, or you can use like an agency that then manages those brand ambassadors. If you're going the agency route, that's maybe a little bit of a lower lift for you if you're a business owner because they already have those ambassadors selected, but you can be a lot more strategic and I would say specific when you're sourcing the influencers or the ambassadors for your team on your own. And I think there's definitely pros and cons to both, but make sure that whoever is representing your brand, that they're living it, they're not just reading a script, and they're actually really excited to talk about it because that does translate, especially in person. And lastly, think about blending the physical and the digital. So while you're at these in-person events, what can you do to later encourage those follow-ups? Can you capture emails? Can you offer a QR linked discount? Can you drive people to follow your brand online? And then what are some things that people do when it comes to field marketing that I just really wouldn't recommend? So one thing is I would say forgetting the follow-up can be very detrimental to a lot of your budget when it comes to field marketing. The event is the spark, but then the follow-up is the fire. So you really want to take that and run with it. Your event is what got the conversation happening. Now let's dive into the follow-up and how you can continue that conversation and convert it ultimately into sales. Then we want to talk about measuring the attendance. So 1,000 people passing by does not necessarily mean you have 1,000 connections from that event. How many people did you actually actively engage with? When I started out my marketing career, I actually started out as a sampler for the company called Bai, where we handed out Bai beverages at a variety of locations. And this was actually based in Princeton, New Jersey, where the company started. Then they sold to Dr. Pepper Snapple. But before that, we were really like on the field, just really grassroots and getting the company out there. And when I was working there, we would log like how many people we engaged with and ultimately, handing over the drink to them, the free sample. It was a big free sample too. I mean, sometimes we would pour them out, but a lot of times it was like a free bottle. That sparked the conversation that then we would have with them and we could explain the benefits of the products. And it created that, brief, but I would say informative conversation. Some people had a lot more questions than others and it allowed us to really open up the floor, but it wasn't just people walked by. So we really had to engage that conversation, and I think that's really crucial. And lastly, I would say you don't want to ignore storytelling when we come to field marketing. This is not entirely different in marketing when it comes to field versus digital. Every display should tell a piece of your brand. So that means that what your brand ambassadors are wearing, the setup of your booth, how you're displaying your brand on your booth, that should all tell a piece of the story to carry on those conversations later on. So ultimately, the takeaway is that field marketing works because people remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what you're selling. The attention span online is getting shorter and shorter. People are not spending time looking through a video, especially a video about a business and trying to learn something new or to care about whatever your company's offering. So with that, in person is a great opportunity to capture people's attention and to hold it for longer. People are looking for more of that human side of marketing. And when done right, it really helps to build that kind of loyalty, and a campaign or an ad online really just doesn't have that sense of connection. So now we're going to move on. Next time, we're going to take this conversation online. I'm going to break down digital marketing, what actually converts in the noisy world of algorithms, content, and data. Because whether you're shaking hands or tracking clicks, it's all a part of one big marketing story and strategy for your business. I'm Rebecca. This was Marketing in 10 minutes. 600 seconds, and I will see you on the next episode where we are diving into digital marketing decoded. Hope you guys learned a thing or two in this one. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you rated and reviewed. I'll catch you all next week.